Well, today, my name is Jerry Cashin, and we're here to talk about some of the history of World War II. It's 50 years later, and it's an appropriate time to be talking about some of the events that occurred 5 decades ago. And we have an unusual situation in the small town of Berlin. We have 3 people here who are not only right in the midst of a lot of the things happening in the Pacific War and World War II, but we're also very close together in terms of their assignments in the service, and we'll be talking to them about that in a minute. You know, they say that history is, you can look at history 2 ways. One is either top-down from the standpoint of generals and presidents, or you can look at it from the standpoint of bottom-up, as they say, and there's been a lot of books written from that standpoint, as the people who were really in the trenches. On Navy terms, maybe we're in the gangways or the galleyways or on the fantail, or whatever you wanted to use. But the point is, these people here from this small town saw a lot of World War II and a lot of the major battles that are a part of history of this country now, and the military history and so forth. So we just want to start here, and we're going to get a little brief background. And I'm just going to go around here. What were each of you, just before you went to the Navy, and each went into the Navy actually before December 7th, 1941, which was the start, for those who are too young to know, was the start of World War II, the official start. What were each of you doing? Were you working? Were you involved with other things? What were you doing just before you went into the Navy? How about you, Blinky? Well, and let me just introduce each person here, by the way. We have Blinky Blinkhorn, and we have Arthur Pierce, and we have Bill Sherman, and they each have a different story to tell. But what were you doing, Blinky?
To start with, we were all working together, Jerry. We're all working for Meyer and we were here in town. Right.
Working in the same,
same
location.
Right, and we all decided to join the Navy.
It was almost like a joint decision.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, 2 of us.
Well, 2.
Yeah. And was it?
One was transportation.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how was the economy in those days? Wasn't too good, right?
No, very bad. Very bad.
There had been a depression in the 30s, and at least you were working, so that was a positive thing. But there was a lot. Was there much unemployment back in, let's say, 1940, 1939, that area? Or had things started to improve?
Well, you didn't hear about the unemployment. They didn't write it up then.
Yeah, it just happened.
And there was
They accepted, you know.
There was
Yeah.
CC camps, and there was a big government push on employing or training
Yeah.
youth to be
There was a lot of
employed.
government programs
Right,
and
government
that type of
programs,
thing.
right, Jerry.
What year did you 3 go in the service?
We went in September 9th, 1940.
All on the same day?
All of us, we were together, right?
We were together.
Yeah.
And where did you go?
We went to Newport, Rhode Island.
That was the
the
training center. in
Well,
those
it was,
days, right?
yeah.
Now, what was the length of training in those days?
It was 12 weeks, but due to an emergency, I guess, but we didn't know anything about it, we were cut to 5 weeks. They crammed 12 weeks into 5 weeks.
So they extend the day.
And
extend
instead
the
of
training
getting
day or
a
something.
week of training on something, we'd only get 1 day.
Yeah. So you went from being raw civilians in 5 weeks to professional sailors, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And a couple weeks later, we were on battleships.
So then you got assignments.
Yeah.
Now this was still 1940 though, right?
Oh, sure.
Before the war.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yet they were already at that time they were compressing it was the training
Oh, sure.
from 12 weeks to
They
5
knew
weeks.
there was trouble.
So where did you all go immediately after boot camp?
To Hawaii,
You all went to
to
Hawaii.
Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that you must have felt like you were on the other side of the earth, right? Being young
Oh,
in those days
yeah.
and that far away. I mean, I don't know how much traveling you had done, but so there you went to Hawaii. Now, what was your first assignment, Bill? After boot camp?
After boot camp, hey, we were glad it was an adventure. You know, we were never thinking of war.
Yeah.
You know, the war had been going on in Europe for 2 years.
That's right. It had been
And,
a European war, right?
They used to say, we're going to stay out of it. And you know, I'm going to tell you, I never read anything in the papers. I never paid attention.
There was not that much awareness.
No,
of it,
no, no. We had other important things to do.
Yeah. Yeah. But where did you go? Were you assigned to a ship?
Yes, we went out to Pearl and battleship, different battleships, and
Yeah.
we got assigned to Cruiser Division 6.
I see. What was the name of your ship?
I went on the New Orleans with a heavy cruiser, and
How
Art
about you?
Boy went on the,
That's the right.
You went on the Astoria, and Blinky was, as I know, you were also on the Astoria too, right?
Yeah, Art and I were together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you were in the Navy, and I know you were involved with a lot of things at that time. But on December 7th, 1941, which is when the big attack occurred, I know that these people right here, in various ways, in different ways, were either in the area or close to the area. You were right at the site.
I was at Pearl.
Yeah, and You remember what the first thing that happened? You woke up on that morning?
We were awake, but had holiday routine, and
It was Sunday.
we had to get to the chow line, and that's where
Yeah.
we were, in the chow line, more or less.
Yeah,
Most of the
first,
shift of people were.
Yeah, it was just, if you know, the military was a sleepy Sunday, a low key operation, yeah. How about you out there? Where were you at that time?
Well, Blink and I was at sea on the way.
Yeah, so it's.
We were bringing, we were bringing torpedo boats out there.
No, we were escorting the carriers to Wake Midway with planes.
Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah.
So, and then you came back into that area very soon after that, right?
2 days later, we returned back to Pearl. Yeah.
And did you know what you were gonna see when you got there?
They told us one battleship sunk and one
Yeah.
badly damaged, such as they told everyone in the States here.
Yeah.
When we hit Pearl, it wasn't until then that we realized there was more than
Devastation.
that.
Good
Right?
point.
Yeah, that's right, Bill.
Unbelievable.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Now, after Pearl Harbor, and let's say the first year or so, now you both were on the same ship, and Bill, you're on the New Orleans, and you two were on the Astoria. Were you in the same, let's say, divisions
Yeah.
as the Navy
Right.
refers to groups of
Cruiser
ships, you know?
Division
worked-
6.
Operated
Yeah.
side by side, Jerry. When we
Yeah.
go to sea, the Astoria,
So when
New
you went to
Orleans.
port, you'd be able to
Yeah.
see each other, and.
That's
so
right.
forth.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
most of the
We tied
time,
right
yeah.
up.
Yeah, yeah. And was there other people from Berlin in that same area, in
Yeah.
the same group, or?
Shrimpy
Well,
Wheeler.
Harold
Yeah,
Wheeler from Berlin was on the Nevada, that's the battleship that was sunk in the channel.
Yeah. So what happened in the first few months after that? Let's say the Astoria. Now, what happened? What was some of the things that the war had started, and now it's a totally different situation.
Right.
What are some of the first things that were happening there? Did you have to go somewhere? Did you become part of a different operation?
No, I think it was more or less immediately, the fleet was, you might say, devastated when the battleships
Yeah.
were gone. They told us we're heavy cruisers, we were to move up. We were
Yeah.
now a battleship.
First line of defense.
Right, right.
Became a battleship.
Right.
Yeah.
By
But
name, yeah.
it immediately was a defensive operation, and it was for a good length of time,
Offensive.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Defensive.
Defensive.
We never went on the offense
Yeah.
until we got some carriers out there with us.
Yeah.
And,
Now, the
and-
carriers none of the carriers were hit at Pearl Harbor.
No,
No,
all
they
out
weren't
to
there.
sea.
No one was in there.
You know, really, I don't think we would have become engaged in the Battle of Philippine Sea, which was the first major operation battle after Pearl Harbor. But the Japs were coming down. They'd gone into China. They were they were on Palau, New Guinea.
A lot of those
Uh,
South
they
Pacific
they had
islands, yeah.
they had Australia practically surrounded. And the Coral Sea battle was nothing but a battle to prevent them from coming in there and taking all of Palau. And the battle,
Palau was in
New Guinea,
the
northern tip of Australia,
Somewhere Australia,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And had they taken that area and Midway, they would have had Australia surrounded.
They could have walked right through Australia
This is
because
right.
all their troops
Right.
had been drained out of there to fight in Europe or in Africa.
Oh, the
Because they had been
Australians,
at war
and
for
India,
2 years,
right.
Australia,
and they knew Australia was safe.
So Australia was part of the British.
Yeah, she had no,
Yeah, Commonwealth. at the
oh,
time,
she
yeah.
had no men left down
So the
there.
only trouble with Australia, once you got there, you're not sure what you've got. I mean, it's 8,000 square miles of desert, but
Yeah.
there's population on the coast. But anyway, they never did get there. But the
Yeah, they
battle,
got hit bad.
they did?
Oh, we
Yeah.
pulled in Australia in March of '42, and at that time, Darwin was being bombed around the clock.
Oh, they won.
Oh, yeah, we had 3 or 4 American ships sunk up there, destroyers, sunk when they bombed
That
Darwin.
vicinity, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right in Darwin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we had a bad time up in Darwin.
Darwin was on the other
North,
side.
right below New Guinea.
Very northern
Okay.
point of
Yeah,
of
and they
the
were
center
bombing from
of,
New Guinea.
Australia.
Oh, I see, like airplane strikes. and
Yeah,
that type of
that's
thing.
what it was.
Yeah, so there was some casualties. But you mentioned the Philippine Sea, was that the first?
That's later on.
That was
yeah,
later
much
on,
later,
yeah.
yeah.
3 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
So anyway, after Pearl Harbor, you went out to sea.
Right.
But was there any, what was the first time let's say you engaged the Japanese? You ran
Battle
into
of Coral Sea.
the battle.
Yeah,
And
right.
when was that?
Oh, golly,
May
that's in
3rd to 6th, 1942.
42. Yeah, yeah.
And what month?
May,
Oh, so that was
Yeah.
about 5 to 6 months after.
yeah.
Pearl. So that was real early in the war.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
so
it,
it was
that's
still,
it.
the United States probably didn't have a lot of its offensive power built yet, because a lot have been destroyed.
We had our old
Um,
carriers out there, then Saratoga, the Lexington, New Yorktown, those were all old.
And those were the three.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
now, what were the Japanese, I mean, did we go looking for them, or how was that?
Bill, I can't answer that, can you? I know we
They
met
were,
out
they were
there.
scouted from the islands, they had been spotted.
Is that it?
They had been
Yeah.
spotted, and,
No
We-
satellites?
we
or
were-
nothing?
took the
no,
offensive-
geez,
we took the offensive going looking for them.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, after,
Say
you're
that,
right.
Yeah. And so that was really, and all your ships that you were on, both of your ships you were on, were at Coral City.
Right, we're side by side.
Side by
Yeah.
side.
We had the Lexington,
Lexington.
and you had the
Yorktown,
Yorktown.
right.
We
So
used
you
to-
say, okay, so your job was also to protect
To
those
protect
carriers?
the
That's
carrier,
right.
definitely.
Now, what were the Japanese hitting with planes, or
Oh,
both,
yeah.
guns, or both?
No, it was planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coral Sea Battle was
So
planes.
they had Japanese
Carrier to
carriers
carrier.
in the area?
They had 6 carriers out there.
Our planes were
yeah.
going like this, back and forth.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we were
had
heading for
three.
them, and they were heading for us,
Yeah.
more or less.
And now that was, I mean, was that a victory for the U.S.? Is that,
It was
a
a moral
standoff or
Yeah, yeah, right.
a Mexican standoff
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, yeah, right. I guess we sunk one of theirs and they sunk one of ours.
One of
so
the
they called it
carriers?
even, Right.
But
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
But that was
it
the
stopped their
first-
advance.
But that was the first time damage was inflicted on their
Yeah.
forces,
On them,
I
right,
guess,
yeah,
from the
that's
standpoint of the naval campaign. Yeah. So how long did that go on, that Coral Sea?
3 days, Bill, was it?
Well, that's what they call it, 3 days, but we only had 1 day.
Yeah, that's right. The
Yeah.
day the Lexington got sunk.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the most beautiful
That's right.
morning I ever remember. That sky was so blue and that water so
Yeah.
blue that morning.
Yeah.
Well,
When they
Coral Sea
announced
could be
enemy
that way.
planes
Yeah.
120 miles away. I'll never forget.
Yeah. You were just ready to take a swim and there wasn't, there came the
Well,
war. No, I'm only kidding.
But no, we were all at
But we recovered their aircraft. They landed aside of us and then we picked them out of the sea.
The Japanese?
No,
No.
they're off their
That was-
Youngstown,
yeah,
Washington,
yeah,
or
I
whatever.
see.
Right.
You know, aircraft carriers were supposed to be invulnerable to being sunk
Yeah.
Oh,
because of the watertight compartment you ever
The
had.
Saratoga was because she was built a battleship and they put a flat top on her and made an
It's
aircraft
modified,
carrier.
yeah.
Right, heavy armor plated.
So actually, it didn't sink though, right?
What?
The Lexington
It
did.
actually sunk?
Oh, yes, yeah.
I thought
yeah.
it was wounded, but.
No,
didn't.
no, no.
what happened on those old ships? Don't you remember when they got hit? And we learned a lesson. This is a compartment, it's on fire. And it's all watertight integrity.
Right.
But the paint was so thick on those bulkheads from 20 years of
Yeah,
painting
yeah, the
that
old
with this
Vulcan
side
mask.
would be on fire
Yeah.
and it would start to paint on fire from the heat in the other compartment
100%.
and it just spread from to the living compartments and that.
That's probably all that paint, I bet, right?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
That's
oh,
right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
What was your job on
You can
the
read
New
it.
Orleans? You were on the New Orleans,
I
right?
was on the 20 millimeters. No, the 40 millimeters, 20 millimeters, Jesus, 20 millimeters.
These were like repeating
Machine, yeah,
cannons,
machine gun.
Heavy
So
machine
with
gun.
anti-aircraft defense?
Anti-aircraft, yeah.
So it was like a team, what did you actually, did you?
I was the gunner
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah. And what did they use in those days for, to spot the planes and fire? Was there, what kind of a system did they have? Fire
Well,
control?
nothing on them, nothing
Yeah.
on the
Just
20s, on the 40s,
visual
yes, and the
aiming.
5-inch,
Yeah.
they had the sky control,
Which is what, yeah.
20s were the last resort, 2040s were the last resort. They were in pretty tight on you when
When they
let
got that
loose.
close, they
Yeah.
were really,
Oh,
yeah.
No, we had the quad 1.1s too.
Yeah, they,
That was,
That
right
was-
afterwards.
That was before, wasn't it? Wasn't that before the 40s?
the 1 point, you're right, we had the 1.1s, and the first time we went in action there at the Coral Sea, and we got it zigzagging and going crazy because all the torpedo planes are going. The fantail got underwater where the 2 big guns
Yeah,
go,
which they could.
and the minute the salt water hit those guns,
How
Stop
did
firing.
your ship, the Phantom,
Yeah.
because they were maneuvers?
maneuvering so
Yeah.
at
They
flying
were
speed.
doing
Yeah.
this, yeah.
How high would you say the fantail was off the water? 6, 7 feet?
Fantail is
Oh,
the back of the ship.
Stern, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'd say about 12
That's where they
feet.
It was
put it,
12 feet, but when they make a nice,
So they were
boy,
doing
that's
this
laying
stuff,
right
yeah.
down,
Yeah,
pulled that water right up and over the top of them.
and knocked those guns out.
That was it.
Yeah. So do you recall Japanese planes coming right into the, to the ship there?
Oh,
To-
God,
yeah.
yes, we watched them come in.
Yeah. Hit any, or,
Did we?
yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say we did it, boy, we just kept firing.
You wouldn't know this,
Hey,
right?
we watched them all come right in on the Lexington. We zigzagged, tried to through the torpedo bombers,
Yeah.
and evidently, I think we were supposed to take the torpedoes that were aimed for the Lexington, but, I guess the old man thought it better to, fight and run away, what is that?
But they got in pretty close, Bill, before we,
Well,
They had a good run on us.
well, Blink, on our ship, they did something that was never done afterwards. They first announced enemy planes 120 miles away, and then, 110, and they worked it right down at, like 30 miles, and then they said, stand by to repel air attack. By the time, holy geez, we were nervous wrecks, for
Sure.
Christ's sakes,
Well,
I'm telling you.
yeah. But you were already getting ready for this once they started announcing this, obviously.
Oh, we had been at battle station for
Yeah,
probably
sure.
10 hours.
Yeah.
We
How
couldn't
did
even
your meals get sent up to you, or how did you get to eat?
They used to bring around, the ship's cooks used to bring around a big bag, a basket of, we want sandwiches, yeah,
Sandwiches,
ground
right.
up cold cuts.
Yeah,
Sort of
With
like having a
red lead in
picnic, huh?
Yeah,
spam.
ground up with all the old,
Not some of that old Navy beans and cornbread, I hope, but,
Yeah.
what about you, Arthur? Now, you were, and Blinky were on the Astoria,
Yeah,
and you're in the same Coral Sea battle, which is in the spring of May of '42. And what was your job on that ship?
well, Blink was in fire control,
Yeah.
and I think he was mostly up Sky Forward, I'm not sure.
Sky Aft.
Sky Aft?
Yeah.
Well, I was either in Sky Forward or Sky Aft up on the direct, I was a pointer.
And when you say pointing out, you were spotting.
That would point the gun up and down,
I see.
and have a trainer in that would bring it right to left.
Okay.
My position was to fire 4 guns,
Keep it horizontal plane.
Okay.
the same,
So
but
you were part
Blink
of
would,
the directional.
Blink and fire control, they'd put in the computers and all and evaluate of how these 4 guns were gonna fire, but the firing was left up to the director, push it, and all 4 guns would be synchronized
I see.
in height and
Yeah.
elevation.
They all fire simultaneously, or is they?
You can automatic
That must have
automatic.
been a hell of a
I don't remember.
blast.
Automatic control that, they'll
minute
fire.
it was loaded, no
Simultaneously?
fighters would go.
Yeah. I mean, about your rear protection, things like that.
You didn't hear them.
I mean.
No, because they were, where we were at,
Okay, you were not.
we
did-
weren't
you
right
just-
behind the gun, we were back of them,
You
you
were
know?
back.
You just heard the first salvo, Jerry, then you didn't hear anything for another 2 weeks.
You felt the vibration.
Unless they fired the main battery, then you were in
Yeah,
trouble.
okay, negative effect. But now, Blinky, you were up in you described it.
And the
briefly.
director, right.
And you were kind of in an exposed position, right?
Oh, yeah, in those
Sort of
days.
out over.
In those
open.
days,
You were
everything was
campus over
open. Everything was- We had what they call splinter shield, was about the thickness of a galvanized pipe around you.
All that did was kept the birds out.
Yeah, that's it.
What was there, 6 of us in the director?
The radar.
Huh?
8, yeah.
With the division officer,
You
with
had-
an officer.
Yeah, you had your pointer, your trainer, your
Well, V.P.
division
Healy,
officer.
he was out a lot
assistant.
with me.
Could have been.
Vincent Healy, remember him?
Could have been, no. I don't.
So your job was to, specifically what now?
I was a rangefinder operator. I
Okay.
was a,
That's distance and
stereo,
so forth.
which is be able to conceive depth in
And
space.
you mentioned radar, now this is 1942, which
That is right.
There wasn't a lot of radar floating around in
That-
those days.
that-
And you mentioned computers, I'm not sure that word existed in
Well,
1942.
we had a director, but we called it a computer. A
You did
rangekeeper.
call it a computer?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
they were all made in Germany, all our equipment.
All mechanical.
Now they're all made by the people you were fighting.
This is right.
That's another story.
Your Bosch and Loom, rangefinder, and
Bosch and Loom,
Cofonescent,
lenses and stuff,
the
yeah.
best in the world.
Yeah.
Everything.
Now, what did you see when you looked in, I mean, what
Well,
did you see?
I'll tell you, we were on the torpedo planes that come in, Japanese torpedo
Yeah,
planes.
the
And
tank
they come in,
bombers.
right, they come
Yeah.
in very low on the horizon, and they come in practically at water level.
Now, in the movies, they show them always coming up with the sun in your eyes and
Yeah.
that type of thing. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, you can't believe what you see in the movies.
Okay.
Doesn't work like that.
That's what George Bush told me anyway.
That's the sad part about being there, that you can't watch the movies because you can tell the phoniness of
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that. But anyway.
Did you see a blip, or what were you looking at?
No, we didn't have a blip. We had them optically. We saw them physically.
You actually physically
Right,
saw the
right.
points?
And they come in, unlike our planes, when our planes return. But in this particular case, they were at a distance where their torpedoes were underneath their cowlings. And it made their cowlings oval, which resembled a
Yeah.
Grumman fighter.
So they were actually carrying
Right,
torpedoes right
their-
under
Their
their
wing,
cockpit.
F4,
Under their cockpit?
beg pardon?
I mean, they were carrying the torpedoes.
No,
under-
underneath, yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
exposed outside.
Yeah.
And their wingtips were painted white, so that they looked like they had square tips.
On the Japanese
And we
planes,
actually
yeah.
identified them as friendly fighters until the lead plane drifted in fact, he drifted to the starboard side, the right side, and his torpedo was hanging down. And when I saw that, I just bellowed, Japanese torpedo planes.
At that time, you weren't sure, before you.
That's right, until that, he exposed his torpedo, and we had a track on them, and the division officer, or gunnery officer right there, he just hollered, fire, immediately,
Mhm.
and so we opened right up
So
on
you,
them.
but you had been tracking him anyway.
That is right, we had
Yeah.
a so-called track on
Yeah.
them, which in those days wasn't as efficient as it
Yeah.
was later on in the war.
But then again, the planes were slower, so maybe that.
Right,
yeah.
and we had to fire right over the bow, practically over the bow of the Lexington.
The
to get
aircraft
at them.
carrier
Right,
that
right.
you were
That's right,
protecting,
That's
yeah.
right, right.
It's amazing you could see over
That
there.
well, you're off a distance, you're not right
Yeah,
side
okay,
by side.
yeah.
We fired right,
Yeah.
I say over the bow, but we're right across
Hopefully
the
they
front
weren't,
of the
they weren't
bow.
launching planes at the time.
No, they weren't.
No,
Yeah.
they're all.
They're
We
all
get
in
a-
the air.
So,
We got a commendation from the admiral on that.
Yeah,
You
right.
know,
On the Yorktown, we lowered our guns down so low, we shot over their ship, and
Yeah.
our fire
Coordinated.
coordinated in with the carrier fire.
I see.
So we were actually laying a wall of steel
Yeah,
on the opposite side of the carrier, so the planes coming in would have to fly into it.
yeah. And of course, the idea of those planes, they came in low, that was
Yeah.
their
It's-
approach.
It's amazing how much AA you can throw out there, and the aircraft fire,
Yeah.
and still have them fly through it.
Yeah.
You can't believe it.
Yeah.
Right through a wall of it, you
Yeah.
know.
But as I remember it now, we were twisting and turning, so when those torpedo bombers started coming in, boy, we were trying to face them.
Yeah.
And
Evasive
turning and
action,
turning
yeah.
and turning. And they
Yeah.
were kind of going, coming
Mhm.
through like that. Not that I actually really
Yeah.
saw them, I saw them, but that's the way,
Yeah.
they came.
Yeah.
We could have too, Bill.
And,
but-
yeah, and it was hard. Geez, and one time the guns it's in the ocean, and the next time,
But see, Bill, you gotta bear in mind that the 20s and the 40s and the 1.1s, they fire under different system, okay?
Oh.
See, we're up there where we have stabilizers, see, the
Yeah.
ship can be turned in any direction.
But
you
Your-
were
your
standing
scope
up.
remains
Yeah,
steady,
but those
you know.
5 inch, yeah,
But
and they were standing.
But what Bill's on, he's right. I used to
You were so
marvel at you
excited, you're
guys.
getting seasick, you're talking,
Yeah.
that stuff going on.
Right.
And so that, and that lasted a few days, so you say one day, maybe something.
The heavy fighting was
Yeah.
one day.
One day, and then,
Right.
and then what
I-
happened? Everybody left, and
But before we go any further, Jerry, I just want to say this in support of Bill about hitting planes at that
yeah.
stage of the
Incidentally, quick
game.
one thing. How come when you swing at a golf ball through the trees, you always hit the branches, but?
I managed to, don't I, Jerry? Especially that tree in the
He
third
didn't
The
hole.
opposite of what you said.
He didn't finish school, that's why.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm lost in thought now. You got me out in the golf course, Jerry. But I'll tell you, after the Battle of Coral Sea, our gunnery officer, his name was Truesdale, called us to quarters. And he walked up and down in front of us, in front of me, in front of all the other gunners, and anyone that had anything to do with it. He's stomping his feet, and he reminded me so much of a mad football coach talking to his football team. And he's pounding his fist. He says, I'll give you fellows credit for one thing in this battle. He says, you furnish the sound effects of it. And actually, that's about the way it was.
Yeah.
At that time, everyone was on local control. Well, the only time we,
Local, I suppose, compared to.
every gun on their own.
Oh, I see, even on the ship
Right.
itself.
We opened up the track on automatic fire, as I told you. But
Yeah.
then after that, it was every man for himself.
Yeah,
And
no coordination between.
there's more planes spotted than there are planes. There's one over there, one gun over
Yeah.
there.
How many did you actually see Japanese planes shot?
Oh, Bill, I've got to say about 3, okay?
Hey.
Of the dive bombers. Torpedo planes, yes, more, because we were on that group.
Now, their big targets were those aircraft carriers, right?
Oh, that's
Oh,
what
that's
they
what
want.
they were
They
after,
love
they
them.
didn't want us.
They loved them.
No.
But you were right close to those aircraft.
Oh, we're supposed to
Yeah.
protect them.
And,
Yeah, but them bombers we got up Guadalcanal, those are high level.
High altitude.
Oh, yeah, there's
Yeah.
Urbans. They were
Where they,
Urbans. Betty's?
Betty's, I
Betty's
think,
come
yeah.
in low on the water.
The ones that where the
Urbans
Japs
were
are
big.
on the plane, and the captain says, don't fire at them. We had our guns trained, we wanted to shoot the sons of guns on the plane, on the wings of the plane.
Yeah,
And the captain said, Greenwald, was that his name?
Yeah,
No, was it Greenwald?
yeah.
Said not to fire on the enemy in the water. But we didn't have to, they took their gun out and shot themselves.
Well, okay, so after the Coral Sea, which was enough excitement for anybody, but things sort of quieted down for a while, you backed off. What, did you go back to port, or did you stay out to sea? Do you recall what happened?
We had, well,
Go ahead, you tell yours.
well, we've been to sea for so long, we was out during the Battle of Coral Sea.
Yeah,
We was out for 108 days, I think.
that's a long time. on the ship,
108
yeah.
days, and what provisions we did have, we had to help supplement our tin cans, our destroyers.
Destroyers, yeah.
We had to help give them fuel, plus send supplies.
Then you have supply ships
Oh,
coming out to?
No.
Well,
no.
no.
What do they do today?
And
No.
then we'd be coming in, and we'd have rations.
To be down
You
to?
eat, yeah.
Twice a
So
day.
they'd stamp your hand or give you some kind of a card to make sure that you didn't get into each child twice.
Each shell length?
Each child, you know, they'd get
Oh,
to go
different-
through and eat
different
two,
things,
two,
yeah.
two rations
So you were
of
getting
food.
down pretty low on
Yeah.
food and that
Yeah,
type of
we
stuff. so
just
you-
about had rice, just about rice was left, about all we had left to eat.
The only
I think.
ones that were ever supplied with was the oil for the ships. They have oil tankers.
I see.
And food, no,
That's
nothing
funny,
else.
that's, okay, in any event, so you had, eventually you had to go back to port, right?
No.
Yeah,
We
go back
did.
in to get supplies,
We
plus
picked up
ammunition.
close to
You
900
separated from-
survivors. We picked up the survivors from
Ah,
Lexington. We
yeah,
got about
right.
900 survivors off the
Ah,
Lexington.
yeah.
And we pulled them in, you know, hand over hand, wrote
Okay,
them
so
over
the
the
two,
side.
those two carriers, the Lexington was sunk, right?
Yes,
Right.
And the
Yorktown
Yorktown was
had been hit.
damaged.
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, you had 900 people.
Yeah.
So where did you go with them?
We went back to Pearl with those survivors.
So that was quite a distance, wasn't it? A
Yeah,
couple of days,
right
3
out.
days,
It was heading home.
Yeah, right, correct.
Where did those get, they had to sleep on decks and everything?
We gave most of them our bunks, more or less.
Yeah.
The fellows were on watch. If I had the, you know, the watch that night, one of the
Yeah.
guys would jump on.
Yeah,
I gave a fella that I pulled in, what it was, you pull a man in and then you take him below and get him a shower and give him some clothes. I gave this one fella my best pair of tailor-made dungarees.
yeah,
Oh,
never saw him again.
no, he got him down Texas someplace, because I remember he said he came from Texas.
So you took those guys back to Pearl Harbor and you went back there. That's the New Orleans. Now, did Astoria go back there too? or what did you
Yes,
do?
we come back together.
So eventually you
right.
went back to Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Now, the next major one was the Midway, the
Battle
of
Midway, right.
Now, when did that happen?
Bill, you got a date on that one?
June 3rd.
Too much later.
I mean, was that the same year, or was that?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
1942, that was
yeah.
only a month,
Oh, so
One
that was real
month
close.
after the Battle
Yeah,
of
that was
Pearl
only
Sea.
another month or so.
We had time to take on provisions and
back out
ammunition.
You must have gone right out again.
We did.
Well, we went up to Alaska first. The Japs had bombed Dutch Harbor. We took off up to the Aleutian Island area
Yeah,
to try to intercept or find out what was up there.
yeah.
And as I was saying, the fog was so
Yeah.
thick, you couldn't see the bows of the ships,
Yeah.
and we couldn't tell where we, so we just.
And this was in the summer, actually, right? May,
This
June,
was
that time
about
period.
maybe the 15th of June, or
Yeah, I think they attacked the Aleutian Islands.
They did.
Or they
Yeah.
occupied
Dutch Harbor,
them,
they
or
did,
something
yeah,
like
the
that,
Aleutian
yeah.
chain.
well, now I
Yeah.
said it was before the Midway battle, it wasn't. We went up there after the Midway battle, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So the Midway came about in about June or so,
June,
1942, which is the very next month after the
Right,
Battle of
yeah.
Pearl Sea, which is pretty soon. Now,
Yeah.
The only-
where is Midway?
Well,
you know,
Midway's
compared to
between,
Coral Sea.
between Australia and Hawaii.
Which actually is a
Yeah.
very small island itself, but
Yeah,
you
well,
are.
Yeah, one of the larger ones of the small ones.
Midway, Wake,
Yeah.
All those islands.
Guam.
They're all
right.
clustered right in the
Did
Coral
you
Sea
know
area.
that when you left Pearl Harbor, you were heading for some sort of, to meet the Japanese,
No.
or did that you just go?
Well, not until we put,
No.
not till we got out to sea,
Yeah,
and then they told
yeah.
us that.
You know if they were
broke in
looking
the
for
cold.
the Japanese, or they
They
just
knew-
happened to run across
No,
them?
they knew it. They
They
knew
knew
it.
it.
The
They had
submarines
broken,
had tailed them.
we had broken their code, and we were all set up for them. They
Yeah.
had planes in Australia, they had planes, heavy bombers,
The
they
American
had,
forces. and
you're right,
stuff,
they
yeah.
had, they had submarine force out there in a V shape, waiting for them to come in into it.
Yeah.
And they had,
So
they,
if the Lexington was sunk, Yorktown was damaged probably certainly for a long period of time. What aircraft carriers? were-
Yorktown, we had the Yorktown with us. They
Oh, they were
had,
still out
yeah,
there?
there was a fanatical job done repairing the Yorktown in Pearl
Yeah.
Harbor.
Yeah.
They did, I wished I had the figures on that, but the job they estimated to be, take place about 3 weeks to repair, and they did it in
Oh.
about a week or
Yeah.
something, morning, noon, and night.
Do
They
you
had
remember
to.
what else came out with us on that trip carrying planes? Remember the Bremerton ferry, they used to call her?
Well, I think
The Saratoga, because every
Oh,
time
the
she
Saratoga,
every
yeah,
time she
yeah,
come out,
yeah,
she took
yeah.
a torpedo
Yeah,
and would
yeah.
have to go back to Bremen and Washington to get
Yeah.
patched up.
Yeah.
And when she took them, you could drive a huge truck through those
Yeah.
holes, and she survived all those hits.
That's
The
that heavy
Saratoga.
armor
And she
plate.
came out limping out to the Midway battle to help us,
Yeah.
and she brought loads of planes with her. That was the one
She
thing.
had about a 20-foot blister on one side,
Oh.
didn't she, the Sarah?
Yeah.
She had it on one side, didn't have it on the
Yeah,
other
no.
side,
Yeah.
because she came out of the Navy Yard so fast.
Yeah. Now, when you were out there, I mean, you look around, you could see the fleet, I mean, spread around.
We stayed pretty
Work
tight.
together,
Yeah.
you know.
What, now there would be destroyers, there would be cruisers,
Yes.
there would be some flat tops, some aircraft carriers.
They'd be in the middle.
And they'd be in the middle.
Yeah,
And was it a bigger force, do you think, than it was at Coral Sea? And when you got to Midway, I mean, was it a bigger force?
About the
than it
same.
was?
We were the same, yeah.
I think it was all
yeah,
the
right,
same ship.
right,
Yeah.
Task force only consisted of about 8, 10 ships, the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had about 8 cruisers and
Yeah.
how many destroyers, did we? If we had
Well,
that
Yeah,
many
that's
destroyers.
pretty close to right, Bill, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
they had 6 carriers.
when, now, you said it was, they had 6,
Yeah.
they had a lot of
Oh,
those
sure.
Zeros flying around, yeah. The,
Of course.
when you got there, now, the Coral Sea lasted maybe 1 day, 2 days, something like that, but how about the Midway, how long did that last? Do you recall, was it a day or 2, or?
Yeah, I don't think
longer?
any more than that, Jerry.
It was
One
just a
day.
day as far as the actual bombing of the
Major
fleet.
Yeah.
part of it, yeah.
But as far as the planes going off, after that went on for a couple days.
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, were you attacked by the Japanese in
By
the
the
same way it
planes.
was at
Oh,
Coral
yes.
Sea?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and they were coming in
Yeah.
again, and everybody
Oh.
was firing away.
Yeah.
Was
Planes
there
is
anything
better.
you remember about that? How about you, were you, that was different from the others, or did you
No,
hit any planes, or?
to me, well, no more, but no less.
Yeah.
We still didn't have a month later, never made that much difference. We still didn't have radar developed the way it
Yeah.
did when the newest ships come out.
Plus, the
And,
Japs had the same disability, they didn't have that capability either, I guess.
And you could hear the pilots talking to each other up there, say, hey, look behind your back, one coming in at 8 o'clock or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Or
They-
tell the shipper, say, the planes are heading now, they're heading into you, they're getting
That
closer.
would be
or
American
Right.
pilots.
You can hear them
Yeah.
talking aboard ship, you know?
Yeah.
I have all that information at home as it was typed up, as it came in.
Is that right?
Yeah,
is that-
and I have that. I told you about that one.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
show you that,
Good
all that
save, yeah.
These were
information.
the conversations.
Oh,
going
between the
on.
pilots,
Pilots,
yeah.
yeah.
Plus, they could have a big view with them.
Of all the conversations that you got over the planes, the one that really shook you up was when everything was quiet and over the radios you'd hear, Banzai!
Yeah.
You know there was a plane up there
You knew
someplace
that guy
and he
wasn't-
was heading for somebody.
You know, that guy wasn't from Chicago,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything would go up immediately, you know.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, you could hear those,
Oh, yeah,
those
yeah.
radio transmissions and
Yeah.
so forth,
Yeah.
yeah. Just you had the right frequency, I guess.
Well, the Japs would deliberately come in on your airways when they hauled Banzai.
They would use
And
that as.
sure, if we had 100 ships up there, there'd be 100 ships waiting for that one plane.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
You'd never know where he was.
Yeah. How much success did they have I know it's, were the American ships damaged, destroyed?
They had tremendous results. Remember, these guys were devoted to death.
And this was
They-
at their peak in many ways militarily. We were still not built
Oh,
up yet.
they were so far advanced in fighting, war fighting. They were so superior to us that it wasn't even funny at that stage of the game.
Yeah.
Battle Midway.
Remember, this is only 6 months after World War II.
This is right.
Kamikaze, yeah.
This is right.
It's only 6 months
Yeah.
after World War II began. And so this is still, they had been fighting for several years at that time.
The
Billy had a
kamikazes,
brother-in-law that was killed on the Dickinson, I think it was, I'm not sure.
the kamikazes really never started until the new carrier forces started.
Okinawa, didn't they start off Okinawa?
Before that, but Okinawa was
Because
the
we had
worst.
we had
Yeah.
Kamikaze
ships out
came
there.
later.
Yeah, yeah,
Towards
right.
the end of the war.
And what were the
But-
American losses at that? Do you recall? I mean, was there any big ship hit
At
or
Midway?
sunk? Yeah.
We lost to Yorktown.
The Yorktown, when you say lost, it sunk? Or
Yeah.
It actually went down.
That was at Midway.
Yeah, right.
When a big carrier goes down,
Yeah.
that's a big,
She
it's a
didn't
big
go down
loss.
till the next day.
Yeah.
They
But we
were,
sunk her.
Slow.
well, they
we
were,
sunk
pu-
her
they were,
afterwards.
no, they were pulling her out. Didn't they have tin can alongside?
Yeah, they had tin can alongside.
And they were trying to, they
Yeah,
were hoping for
yeah,
the
you're right,
tug
Bill,
yeah.
to come
Yeah,
out and
you're right.
and tow her back
Yeah.
to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
But, you know, Blick and I were talking how the stories, how we remember the different stories, but the one I remember the most is the PBY didn't come out from Pearl and arrived there at dawn to patrol for
No,
Jap
PBY
submarines.
was a patrol plane, Navy
Yeah,
patrol.
yeah,
they were
right.
at Catalina.
Yeah.
And they torpedoed, and did they hit that destroyer too?
Oh, yeah.
The Hammond.
Hammond.
Hammond,
She
that
got
was
it,
it.
Yeah.
She
She
got
was-
it at the same time.
She was given
Oh,
power to
given
the
power,
Yorktown.
that's right.
And she got hit and her depth charges
That's
weren't,
right.
weren't set at a low speed, and they went off alongside of the Yorktown too.
Yeah, it all hit.
They had her
somewhere,
up to
yeah.
20 knots at one time, Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she,
I
the
don't know.
tops were
We
gonna
sunk
come
it.
out.
Right?
We sunk it eventually ourselves.
Well,
Yeah, well, I
Wow.
would say so, I think we did.
But in
No,
the-
no,
She
no, she
was
went
down-
down on her own.
She went
down
down
for a
fast.
Well, what,
She went down.
what Carrie did we, did,
We-
that
The
they,
Lexington,
that some of the men aboard ship said that they were sealed in, and they asked that when we did throw torpedoes into the ship, that they would hit this spot where they were sealed in. Was that, was
That
that
was
the
a
Lexington?
Lexington.
Was that the
Yeah.
Lexington?
yes, it was, and it was destroyer
That was the
Phelps.
previous battle.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Phelps was the destroyer.
Phelps,
She
yeah.
threw 5 torpedoes at the Lexington. And you know, we were,
We're back at Coral Sea now.
Carl C,
Yeah.
and I can remember only 3 of them going off.
Uh-huh.
But she did catch on fire, and she looked like 5 city blocks. Those flames were so high,
Yeah.
that whole ship. It was so sad. It was just at sunset.
Yeah.
And
Now, what
dusk.
about the Yorktown now? They, the survivors and the people that all
We
were
picked
taken off?
them up
Yeah,
out
we had
of
a
the
lot of
water.
survivors,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of their planes that
Couple
had
hundred
no
on
carrier to
board,
land
yeah.
on.
Yeah. So where did you go from, okay, when Midway and then that ended, and did you go back to Pearl Harbor, or what happened
Yeah.
after that?
Yeah,
Everybody
right,
went back to Pearl
at
Harbor?
Pearl, yeah, that was
Yeah.
a staging base.
Now, what kind of shape was Pearl in? They had all these ships that were in the harbor there sunk? and-
Oh, they've done a
They-
fabulous job.
They had a couple of them up by
Yeah,
then.
that is right.
They were working
Oh,
on
they-
it. Yeah.
you can't believe what
But
they
when
did
we
there.
first went in, oil,
Yeah.
oil must have been 12,
Well-
10 or 12 foot deep,
Oh,
in
That
the top.
heavy
Yeah.
was.
and the men bodies laying on the beach looked like cordwood,
You're talking about the second day. You come in the
Second-
second day
second
after
day
that.
after
December
Pearl.
8th, December 8th.
like
1941.
cordwood. They're piled up with tongue depressors
Yeah.
twisted around their toes. They would go in and get their teeth reading, so for identification
Okay, this is
sometime later.
after
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Now, you went back to Pearl Harbor, you've been through the Coral Sea, the Battle of Midway, all still in the same,
Yeah.
division.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And now, I know that the next thing that you probably ran into was Guadalcanal, right, which was a famous World War II battle.
That's,
And when did that, just to put it in sequence, when did that happen? When did
it
you
was
get-
in August of 42.
So this is right,
August
all this is
the 6th.
happening
This
within a
is
few
right.
Yeah,
months.
yeah, this was
They-
continuous.
You guys are saying the whole war
August
in a
7th
few
we
months.
went in.
The first line of
Was it 2
defense,
days
they had
before we
nothing but the
sunk?
Yeah.
cruisers. No battleships were
Yeah.
able to make it.
Now, Guadalcanal, from the Marines and the Army standpoint, I think was the first invasion, wasn't it? To land it
Guadalcanal
in?
was another desperate move. We
was
had to
kind of
go
a-
in.
yeah.
We had to go in. Had the Japs taken Guadalcanal, they'd have still owned Australia.
And that was it close to that
That's
Australian
right, it was all in
continent?
that
Yeah.
area, yeah.
So you
That's another-
you went back to Pearl after the Battle of Midway. You were there for a period of time. You went back out again.
Right.
We had to go back.
You're all still in the same division, the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
you
yeah,
two guys
same
on the
group,
Astoria and
yeah.
you're in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Out, and then you went towards the Guadalcanal area.
Right.
And now what happened when you got there? Because I know a lot
Well,
happened.
On the way to Guadalcanal, Bill's ship pulled into New Caledonia, which is now, like I said, the staging area for Guadalcanal. And I think
New
at that
Caledonia,
point, Bill
yeah.
could tell the story. I didn't,
Well, I left it at that time, but before we went out to Guadalcanal, we headed up to the Aleutian Islands.
That's right, you said that. Now that
Our
came
whole
in.
group,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they were attacking it
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
and,
And what did you run into them up there?
no, running, and
That was a Kisker or something, I remember.
Yeah.
Kisker and
at
Aptu.
Kiska,
I don't know if they actually invaded or they were
They
just
did, they
shelling out or
landed.
what.
Well, we
Yeah, they
did
were-
too.
They had a base on there.
yeah, they landed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did
yeah,
land,
yeah. Oh, sure.
It didn't last long, as I understand, as I
No.
recall the history of it.
Well,
But,
They couldn't find each other in the fog up there, like we couldn't find each
Yeah.
other at sea.
yeah.
When we finally made the invasion up there to drive the Japs out, they'd been gone.
They were gone.
Yeah.
It was so foggy you the plane couldn't even spot the ship. They come in and got them, took them off. And
Yeah.
those poor doggies that had to stay up there in the Aleutian for the war, oh my God, I'd rather be out fighting.
Jerry,
Had a
that
lousy climate up there.
Oh,
again.
That weather up there, I don't know if you've ever been in a whiteout, it's the first time I ever was. But you'd be going along in formation, 10 ships sailing along smoothly, and you go into this white snowstorm. You couldn't see 2 feet in front of you, it'd be white.
Hmm.
And
But this is kind of in the summer. period.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was. It was in
spring,
June
summer.
15th or
Right.
so.
Right, and we didn't have the radar then.
Yeah.
We had some radar, but you couldn't rely on it.
Yeah.
And then the whiteout would lift, and you'd be all alone. There'd be one ship way out on the horizon. There'd be 2 or 3 off, and you'd regroup and you'd continue faithfully toward Aleutians. Dutch Harbor is where we were going.
Yeah.
And once again, the whiteout would hit. Well, this happened 3 or 4 times, and finally, they said, enough of this. We turned around, went back off of Midway.
Yeah.
I'll never forget they announced over the PA system, out of a clear blue sky, the ship will be back in Pearl in 3 days. Wow! You that ship was bouncing.
Good news, yeah.
You'd get out of there, anything.
Back to okay, after this you went back and then you headed towards Guadalcanal. This is August, you say, right?
Yeah.
Still 1942, so you had been May,
Yeah.
June, and now
Yeah,
August
yeah,
of 42. A lot of things have happened. What was the situation down there? Was this mainly a naval battle? Was it a
Oh,
combined
invasion.
It was,
It was an invasion.
we invaded the Japanese
at
at
Guadalcanal?
Guadalcanal. In fact,
I guess, as I said earlier, that as far as I know, that was the first time we had actually
gone on
attempted
the
to drive
offense,
them out, yeah.
and, right,
Was that the Army or Marines, you know?
Marines,
Oh,
First Marine Division,
Yeah.
First Marine went,
Yeah.
first or third.
I guess a lot of casualties there.
It was heavy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, what about the Navy part of it? Now, the Japanese had ships there and...
Not at that time.
No.
We went in on a Japanese navigational light. We went into Guadalcanal.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
between
was it
Tulagi.
on the island or
Right,
something?
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
between Tulagi and Guadalcanal.
Yeah.
And you pass right by Tulagi, it's like you can almost reach it.
Yeah. Now, were you there to support the...
The Marines,
invasion?
Marines,
right,
yeah, the
right,
invasion,
the
shelling and so
landing
forth?
force and the transports
Yeah.
that were in
Now,
there.
had you had said you had left the New
I had
Orleans?
left
Yeah. No, you had left the New...
the New Orleans for
yeah.
new construction,
I see.
to come back to the States and pick up a new ship.
New ship, yeah.
See, they used to take so many of the older fellas off the
Right.
ships
Senior.
and bring on new recruits
Yeah.
and send us back to...
The ones that they
for the-
didn't need,
To
the
restock.
ones they didn't need, they'd send them to
Or
another
else they
ship.
needed
The shell
Get rid of
shock,
them.
the
They
shell
needed
shock
those experienced
survivors.
guys back at the new ship.
That was what it was.
Jerry, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right, because they
Give 'em an
did the same to us,
experience.
Bill. We
Yeah.
transferred our fellows at sea. Bill Quinn from Clinton was one that
Uh-huh.
was transferred off that
So in the
ship.
meantime,
Took to
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
you
Massachusetts,
and
right.
Arthur are at Guadalcanal and the Marines are invading, and I know a lot of it. Now, did the Japanese Navy come into this? What happened there? when
Well,
you
to
were there?
start with, the first day, the day that we bombarded Red
Shelling-
Beach, shelled
well,
Guadalcanal
yeah.
for the Marines to land.
Hopefully in the right,
right.
far
We-
enough inland.
I'll tell one little story. We had orders not to fire on Red Beach, the beach that the
Particular
Marines
beach
were
that
going
they
to
were
land
there,
on
yeah.
until 5 minutes before the landing, and every ship, every gun in the fleet was to home in on Red Beach and let everything go for 5 minutes.
Before
okay?
they got there.
Before they landed, right,
Yeah.
before the Marines landed.
Yeah.
On Red Beach was a Japanese with a machine gun, and he kept firing at us, and he never could reach us. But he kept firing, and for 2 or 3 hours, he fired at us, and
When
we...
you were that close, you could.
Oh, sure.
See him or
Yeah,
hear
right,
him.
oh, sure. And
This is daytime.
we couldn't see him, but we could see his traces coming out,
Okay.
you know, and they were short of our ships, you
Yeah.
know. But
Was this
but
daytime or night?
morning, there was no morning.
Yeah.
And he probably fired for a couple of hours there on Red Beach. And we had orders
And you
not to
couldn't reach it,
fire.
you just kept firing.
Right, and we had orders not to fire there until 5 minutes before, when every ship in the fleet turned where that shell was and went loose.
Unlike the luckiest man in Iraq, this is the unluckiest man
Right.
in Guadalcanal.
Right. But anyway, Joe, that day was spent landing the Marines and getting supplies off the transport. So we had an air attack in the morning, horizontal attack of Irving's. That's a twin-engine bomber.
These are
Japanese
American-
had. No, those were Japanese.
Yeah, they were
Irving
attacking-
planes come down from Rabaul, out of Rabaul.
Japanese planes attacking
Right.
the forces and
Right.
so forth.
They hit one of the transports. Didn't sink it,
This
but
is
they hit
the
it.
troop transport.
That's right,
That
that's
Marines
right.
are on. So.
And then that afternoon we had a heavy Japanese Betty torpedo plane attack. That's the attack that Art was talking about. That so many, they come in, their tail skids actually dragged in the water when they were making the run.
Oh, they
Yeah.
torpedo bombers, that thing?
Well, Betty was a great plane. They could use it for anything. Horizontal, I've seen them in dive. I've seen them in
yeah.
power dives and come out of it.
Single
And
engine plane?
Twin engine plane.
Twin,
Right,
yeah.
right. And they hit a transport. there were 20 planes in that raid, and we shot down all but 7 of them. And 7 of them...
You get 13 out of 20.
You're right.
That's
It,
fantastic average.
Right, and, well, we were getting better. Our practice was paying off. Right, right.
Experience
Right,
counts.
right. And then the fighters got most of those, I guess, after they got away off the Wasp. The Wasp was out the other
That's
side.
an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
right. But anyway, now we had no surface engagement until, let's see, August the 7th we went in, August the 8th at night, like we've been fighting all day long.
Yeah.
And we got a report that they had a surface force coming down at us.
So the Japanese forces.
That is right, that is right. And bearing in mind that this now is leading up to the first...
Did they tell everybody what was happening?
Oh, yes,
generally,
yeah, right,
Or
right.
is it, yeah.
Right. But like our gunnery at that time, even our observation reports were not that accurate.
Yeah.
We were told that,
Things were pretty informal in those. They
that's
weren't
right,
so
that's right.
sophisticated as they
Right,
are now.
right.
Yeah.
And we were told they'd hit our area at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we were all...
And this was about the second or third day of the Guadalcanal.
This is the second day,
offensive.
Jerry,
Yeah,
next day,
yeah.
right? And we were going to go out of the area and intercept them out
Well, face them.
outside
Yeah.
and not be in
Yeah.
amongst the islands.
Yeah.
And the scouting report was wrong. They're much faster than...
There was two. There was two.
Yeah, two.
There was-
So they
there were
arrived
two.
Right.
earlier.
They, we were expecting them at 8 o'clock and they hit us at 2 o'clock in the morning.
It
Jerry.
came down the
Wow.
slot.
Yeah,
So they
down
were-
the slot, right, Bill?
They were, in fact, I've even heard that phrase,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And,
They arrived at night, in other words.
yeah, that's right. Then-
2 in the morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was...
How did they get picked, you know, how did they find out, hey, they're here? How did they
Well,
just-
in
with
my case,
surveillance?
Pierce can answer for himself, but I know in my case, I was on watch up after director.
You
and
were
I'll
on
tell you,
watch.
no one was really fired up at that point, 2 o'clock in the morning, fighting all day long.
Yeah.
You're pretty, and being on the alert at nighttime.
Yeah.
And flares were dropped on our port side,
Flares,
and immediately
they were shot out, or planes were dropping them?
planes had dropped them.
Yeah.
So
But at that point, they were flares. We didn't know where they come from. They were flares, you know? And we whirled around, and immediately you see them up there. Well, you knew there had to be a plane. They had a scout plane that was dropping
I see,
flares.
so highlight. the
Behind
flares.
us, all right? So we naturally swung around where the flares were. Well, they weren't out there. They were back on
Yeah,
the other
right.
side of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
They had silhouetted us.
They had what?
Made a silhouette out of
I
us
see
with
what
the
you're saying,
flares.
yeah, yeah.
And they just had everything trained on us, and they opened up.
Wow.
And then
And would you say, were you ready, or
We-
you know, the American forces?
we were ready, Jerry, but not
Totally ready.
not ready, you know, that's like a football team that's ready and gets beat 20 to 30
Yeah.
to nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we weren't alert that when the flares were dropped, they could have been on the dark
Yeah.
side, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, you didn't know they were there until the flares.
That's right, that's right. And they were in on
There
top
was
of us.
no radar, it just didn't work that well, huh? Didn't pick it up?
Get a
You were
blip
in
in.
close on the islands there anyway.
Yeah, right in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would affect-
All kinds of radar blips off the
Sure,
islands,
I would
Bill's
imagine,
right on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But you have skeleton crews are on the guns at that
No,
time.
we were,
Yeah, you were at
we were
Camp
general
Borders,
quarters,
yeah.
yeah, we were fully manned.
So, where were you?
And the planes we heard sounded just like our own SOCs.
At night?
We
you
could have
couldn't,
had our scout
I
planes out
didn't, I
too.
didn't hear that.
At night you couldn't see them.
You could hear them, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was up on the bridge, and Truesdale, the gunnery officer, was there. And as soon as they started dropping the flares, somebody on the phone said, "Who's dropping the flares?" I said, "Well, it sounds like the SOCs or the planes overhead are dropping
You thought they
flares."
were American planes.
And Truesdale
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
"Who in the hell told you to say that?" Well, I gotta say what I saw. I mean, somebody asked over the phones.
Yeah.
I gotta relay where the flares come from, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, you couldn't see them.
that was it.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, they had opened up. They had us, like Blinky said, zeroed in
Yeah.
a silhouette form, I assume.
Yeah.
And they just knocked the heck out of us.
Yeah. So this is your near story, and did you have a chance to fire back, or could you see?
Oh,
anything
yeah,
already?
we got the
a
firing,
few elbows
right.
off.
Right.
Could you see anything? I mean,
Well,
that was
they
at
hit
night,
it, they hit us so fast, Jerry. They put us right out of commission.
So they really caught you.
The
napping.
Quincy, Vincennes, and the Astoria, and the Australian ship Canberra, which
Yeah.
never should have been in that
Four
group,
of them.
okay?
Now,
Say-
the Canberra, because you were near Australia.
That is right, right. But it was the first time we had operated with a foreign ship
Yeah.
When you're in an
And
area
what
like
problem
that
did
in a
that
foreign,
cause?
beg pardon?
What problem did that cause?
Identification, you
It
know.
was just different
Really,
from-
I'm
Yeah.
sure she caught some of our.
Oh, your own fire.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
sunk her.
What happened, what happened
I
to the
hope not.
Canberra? Did it survive that, the Canberra?
Canberra stayed afloat till the next day.
And then it sunk. What happened to the Astoria?
Astoria stayed afloat till the next day.
So you took some
Quincy.
hits
Yeah.
and.
That's good. How many, they say we had? Quite a few, very bad.
Yeah, and you had, was this the one that I was talking to you previously, that you had, you looked around and there was holes in the,
Everyone had an experience.
Yeah.
We had, out of the crew of 700, we had about 300 killed. And we had pretty almost equal amount stretcher cases.
Yeah.
Only a couple hundred of us got
Lot
off
of
with
wounded,
mine.
lot of-
Piercy brought shrapnel back with him. I did, but it just, we didn't bring the Purple Heart with us because we didn't have the heart to go down to sick bay. We weren't damaged that bad
Yeah.
to get the shot and be recorded for the Purple Heart. There's too many stretcher cases down there.
Mm.
Our doctors become surgeons, our corpsmen become doctors.
and they were working down below right under these
Oh,
conditions,
everything
you know.
under any conditions.
So they,
But-
this was all at night too.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Jerry, getting back to the shells that you're talking about, I operate a rangefinder which is 18 feet long. And
Mhm.
you gotta imagine, I'm in the middle of it, at the 9-foot mark.
Mm-hmm.
And the lights went out on my reticules that I ranged with. And I immediately
Uh-huh.
called Clark to check the battery, see if my battery was loose.
It was
And they-
battery driven?
Right,
Yeah.
the illumination.
Mhm.
And they come right back, trouble's up there, not down here. So I got up out of the rangefinder to look for it, and half of my 5 feet of my 9-foot rangefinder's gone, missing completely. Been taken off with
blasted
a
off.
shell, right?
Yeah.
And while I was up there, I went back to stand where I normally stood, because that's where I should. And there'd been a 5-inch shell tear through the area that I just left, torn through the director completely. Armor piercing, kept right on going through. And I never knew it until one of our reunions when George Laurie, I can verify anything I say, George Laurie told
This
me,
was years later?
right, he was about 5 years
Why,
old,
he did say.
told me that there was a 3-inch dud stuck between the director, he and I, which is right in between the
Like
two
a
of
shell-
us.
a shell that
I didn't know
didn't
what that was.
explode.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's, and everyone can tell you stories, Art's
Yeah.
got stories.
Hey, I heard a story that one guy didn't leave that Astoria until the tin can backed down and got close enough so he could climb on without getting his feet wet.
Oh, you're rubbing it in now, Bill.
No, he told me that.
That was Arthur?
There were two, I'll get you to say, I gotta stand and protect you, kid. There were two groups. We were set on fire, and we were,
Yeah.
the hangar area and,
The well deck.
and the well deck was,
Now you say hangar, you had a plane on that?
we had four,
Carried forward.
four scout wings,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. And all this was a massive fire, and we were back on the stern, the ship dead in the water, when naturally went into the wind, and the flame was coming
Yeah.
out.
How far offshore were you? Do you recall? Maybe close to
Oh,
shore?
Jerry,
or-
to maybe 3 or 4 miles.
Just fairly
Yeah,
close,
yeah,
yeah.
to start with,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then, we didn't know there was any life except a few of us that were back on the stern.
Yeah.
And we saw a flashlight up on the bow, so we knew there was life up there.
You were in the back and this was the front.
Piercy
yeah.
was up on the bow and I was on the stern, right,
I
right.
had the flashlight. I was.
Oh, you were the guy with the
Oh,
Right, right.
No.
But see, they could come in with the Hammond, what destroyer was it?
The Hammond picked us up.
Hammond, come in on the bow, she
No,
could get in.
Hammond,
Not the Hammond, she was with the,
Oh, no, Hammond's the one that went down and.
but anyway,
So at this time, you were taking a lot of
Oh.
damage.
oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
sinking
yeah,
part.
we were hit with
You were pretty well
overflow.
going down.
Our,
right? This ship eventually sunk, right?
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
So, but you were still there. Now, you saw this light.
No, I know. The destroyer come in and could take them off up on the bow when they
Was
gave the
taking
order
some people
abandoned
off.
ship,
Still
right?
nighttime?
Right,
Still
yeah,
nighttime?
right.
Yeah.
But they couldn't take us off because of the flames. They couldn't get
You
in
were on
on
the other
stern.
end of it, yeah.
We had to go off.
Yeah.
We had to.
Now, where was
like
Arthur
that.
at this time?
I was up
That's it.
forward, up on the gun deck.
He was up on the
Uh-huh.
boat, right.
So did you go off on one of the destroyers? or-
Yeah,
Because you
I could
said
jump
you-
right off, or get off from the top of.
And that was
side
kind of
our
dangerous
ship.
though. I mean, those ships going up and
It
down.
was pretty
and-
calm.
It was dangerous anyway, but I mean,
They could get right up close and you go on the side of the ship, you're listening
Yeah.
some so it wasn't that much of a drop to
I
get
see,
on that.
yeah, but I wouldn't wanna be jumping from ship to
Yeah.
ship on those sides.
Oh, you would.
Unless you had
Yes,
to.
you would.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
But, so you were in the back and they couldn't pick you up in the same way, so
That's right.
what happened then?
Well, I went into a life raft, yeah.
So you had life rafts there?
I,
How'd you would jump
Jumped out
the
the
life
ship.
raft and then you followed it?
that's right,
What was that drop, 10 feet, 15, 20?
about, I'd say about 12 feet.
Yeah, you weren't worrying too much about the distance at that time, probably.
Well, yes, it was. It was
Yeah.
dark down there. You couldn't see how far it was.
You know,
There was probably sharks. That's a shark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. There were sharks. We had 35 men in our 20-man life raft, and everybody stood up. We had the
Yeah.
rafts, the rings, and around
Oh, I
them
know,
with the
yeah.
lattice work
Same
on the
as me,
bottom.
yeah.
Yeah, they kind of had the water, actually came up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Just lattice work, right?
Yeah,
And
they
you're
were
in the
not
water.
it's dry.
We had all our provisions underneath, tied underneath. Our raft had gone in upside down, and when we tried to get provisions out, the oars were tied in with provisions, and every oar we cut loose, we'd lose part of our provisions.
They were
So
okay.
The
Yeah.
thing landed upside down,
Okay.
so they all jumped in it,
Oh,
it's
I
upside
get what
down.
you're
That's
saying.
it. We had to dive down in underneath.
I see, yeah.
So, and anyway, I was in the raft for 14 hours.
Yeah.
Went in around,
So this is daylight now, and you could really see
Then,
what's
yeah,
happening,
right.
yeah.
But we never, we didn't think they were going to pick us up,
Hmm.
because every time they'd have a subcontact, they'd leave us.
Uh-huh.
And so we started for Florida Island. We had our raft under control. We were going to Florida Island.
Which was a nearby,
Right, well,
Land.
probably, I think, about 7 miles.
you could see it.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Invade it, huh?
yeah, and
Tulagi,
one
was it
officer.
Tulagi?
No, this was Florida.
uh-oh.
And this officer, all alone in a life raft, I can't figure out how he got alone all by himself, because there were other guys on there, but anyway,
On
he was
another raft, yeah.
yelling and hollering at us, and we held up for him thinking he needed help. And he says, keep away from there, it's all Japanese, there's no Americans there.
Uh-huh.
So then we got our paddles going the other way.
Oh, so that you would have been captured if you went there.
Oh,
Yeah.
That or
Yeah.
shot, one of the two, that was
Yeah.
flip of the coin.
Yeah. So then you eventually were picked up.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
destroyer Wilson did this.
Yeah. So there was one thing you were saying about these Japanese in the water. Am I in the right time frame now where they were swimming around and the Japanese themselves? I might be in another time frame here, but we were talking earlier.
That
But
was
in any
Guadalcanal.
event, Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were shooting at you
Right.
with pistols. What was
Right.
this?
This I think is what touch
Yeah, Arthur
base
was
on
saying
that.
earlier,
They on this Japanese petty raid that we shot down 13 planes.
Which
Right,
airplane, yeah.
right. They were in low, and they were loaded with Japanese, and we don't know why.
You
There's
know, a lot of people on these planes,
right.
maybe
And they all
they
had
thought it was
small
a-
arms. They all had their revolvers
Why
with
did they
them.
have so many people on these planes?
There's no rhyme or reason
Tourist
for it,
seekers.
Jerry. You know, they did a lot of things, and you wondered afterwards why they ever did it. Right.
But anyway, they were in the water,
That's, yeah.
and they were the,
And we tried to pick them up.
they helped them. I mean,
Humanity purposes, right?
Save them.
Right, that's
Yeah,
right,
save
that's
them,
right.
yeah.
And they started shooting at the sailors. You
I mean, they had pistols.
Yeah, right.
In the
You know,
water,
This is
being
right.
saved, and they were shooting,
This
biting
is-
them,
this-
literally
this
biting
is
them.
right. And a lot of them. Every plane was loaded with these people. I think they took them along for a ride, figuring they could see what they were doing to the great American fleet.
Maybe it was a training mission for them, but something,
Could have
yeah,
been.
that's amazing.
But anyway, that's when they assigned a destroyer around to get rid of them, because they were.
They were, a
They were
threat
shooting
to
at us.
the- to the
Yeah.
people were
They
trying to
could have
help
been
them,
heading for
yeah.
Henderson Field, to land extra to supply more troops to the island.
But they had torpedoes. They made the torpedo run on us, Bill.
Yeah.
And then they would probably head to Henderson.
So that was,
Yeah, that's possible.
that ended, and then you all came back. Eventually, you ended back in the States, right? You came back to Pearl, perhaps, at first?
Yeah,
and-
the Pearl.
Yeah, and so that pretty well covers that aspect of it, and that all occurred from May, and of course they were in the Navy before then, but these battles we've been talking about occurred, there was Coral Sea in May, and then Midway of Boston in June, and then Guadalcanal occurred in August, and these people here, Bill had left before Guadalcanal, but the other people were all through all of them, and this all occurred in a very short period of time, There's many more stories to be told, but that's it for now, and thank you for watching.